Hello, everyone. This is Jenny, your host, coming back with episode 3. Really important. This is about taxes. It's going to sound super boring, but honestly, if you have a short-term rental and you're investing in properties or vacation properties, doesn't have to be short-term, can be long-term, taxes are so important and we need to talk about them. I know they're stressful and no one wants to talk about taxes, but you have to talk about it. I'm going to make it as easy as I can. I want to preface all this with saying I am not a tax professional. I am not a CPA. I am just a taxpayer. So over the last decade, I've paid taxes on different rental properties, and this is what I have taken and learned from my CPA and some other tips and tricks that will help you with your taxes this year. I know tax season's right around the corner. I hope you have already at least gotten your stuff together, started to file. You can file for an extension till October if you do not owe anything, so make sure that as a caveat there. But again, I am not a tax professional, but I'm going to give you some things that I've learned over the last decade in rental properties and taxes. As you might have seen on my Instagram or my Facebook, I did post a little picture that has some deductions, and we're going to talk about those. I'm going to add a couple more, and then we're also going to talk about some organization and professionals and that sort of thing. So I've learned a lot about taxes over the last couple years, and so I'm going to help you with some tax write-offs, organization, recommendations on using professionals. So we'll go ahead and dive right in, right? First off, you have to realize that there are some deductions. So taxes aren't always scary. There's some things you can write off to help lower how many taxes you owe. Remember, in the first couple years, you're probably going to be not making a huge profit. And if you are making a little bit of a profit, this might help get you below so you're not having to pay a ton of taxes, right? So some deductions that you can write off on your taxes for these rental properties is furniture. Anything that you bought for that property, beds, couches, lamps, anything like that you put in that rental property. And remember, if you've got more than one property, we're going to talk about organization, keep it separate. So this couch went into this property, I'm going to write it off for that property. This bed went into this property, I'm going to write it off for that property. So any kind of furniture that goes into that rental, not for your primary residence property, make sure, because if you get audited, you don't want that to come up and they wonder where it is. Cleaning and maintenance fees, those are great. So any kind of, I'm sure you have a turnover service, as you heard in my last podcast, how to get a 5-star. You want to make sure you're having that cleaning service or turnover service professional. You can actually write off those fees, any maintenance fees as well, keeping those receipts from Lowe's. Also, any marketing. You probably saw I have new stickers out with my QR code for my podcast. Super exciting. This is a marketing expense. I can write this off so I can save on the taxes paid out of my income, right? So any kind of marketing expenses, I do market with Facebook and Instagram. So those marketing expenses can also be written off. And home office deductions. So if you buy this new mouse, you can make sure to write it off on your taxes. So that's also any kind of office expenses. This microphone, I can write it off on my taxes, right? Also, commission and professional fees. So I told you we're going to talk a little bit about hiring that CPA. I'm not a CPA. I'm not getting paid for this. I would recommend, again, that CPA. But there's professional fees that you pay to have your taxes done with them, or any advice that you pay for with them. That can also be written off. Mortgage interest and insurance payments for that property that you're using as your rental, write off. Okay. And any travel, so say your property is 30 miles away from your home or 30 miles away from your other property. If you're traveling to and from, make sure to document those miles, the date, how many miles you traveled, because that mileage expense can be written off. I think like last year, I don't recall what this year is, but I think last year was like 55 cents a mile. So remember that adds up, especially if you're going multiple times a week or month, that will add up. Document it all. Either keep a ledger on like a written piece of paper or, a notebook, or I really like Excel for that. It's very easy to just throw those rows in, sum total at the bottom. You've got your annual mileage there. Very easy, right? So just keep up with that. It's hard to remember in January what you did last January, how many times you visited that property. So make sure you keep up with that, right? And then any other expenses associated with the property. So anything that you do, add, anything like that to the property, that can be on there. So make sure to keep a ledger, keep a tab, keep an Excel document, anything that you can associated with that property. I like to keep my bank separate. So those bank fees, anything, anything like that, checking fees, whatever it is, those bank fees can actually help as well. You can write that off as a deduction. But make sure you're keeping, I like to have a separate bank account for each property, and so or for your properties as a whole, so you know which thing is going into which thing, right? So that's an easy way to keep up with everything. All right, so adding this in a memento. Okay, so we talked about those deductions, those write-offs. My best advice, what you should get out of this entire podcast about taxes, is do not do them yourself. You might think that you can, unless you're professional, then you can, all right? No problem with that. But I would highly recommend hiring a CPA, preferably someone who has extensive knowledge in rental properties, short-term rentals, vacation rentals, long-term rentals, whichever you're doing. Make sure that they have that experience. I'm very lucky. I've had my CPA, I think, for like 7 years now, and she actually has rental properties of her own, so she can help me understand some things that I need with that, as well as taking off that CPA hat, putting on that rental property owner hat, and back and forth. Very, very helpful. Talk to other property owners and see who they use for their taxes. I would highly recommend a firm where someone owns the firm that's a CPA. I really, really want to stay away from those box tax places, the ones that you hear the ads about all the time. I won't name any. I don't want to be rude, but please, 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 please don't go to them. These are going to be people who aren't as experienced in your niche business, and they're not going to protect you as much either. So if you get audited, having that peace of mind, just paying a little bit of extra for, quality versus quantity, you don't want to just save money to save money when it comes to taxes. You want someone that can actually help protect you, keeps your files backed up, and that sort of thing. So please be careful of those out-of-the-box tax firms, especially the ones that advertise a lot. I was told once that if someone's advertising a bunch, that means they don't have a lot of business, right? So if you're getting a lot of business, you won't need to advertise as much. So make sure that you're hiring a CPA. They're knowledgeable about what your business is. And be careful of those box places that are just, you're trying to get it really cheap and really fast. Not worth it. Trust me. All right. My last tip for you really is organization is key. Oh my goodness. Organization, organization, organization. You know how they say location, location, location? I'm going to say organization, organization, organization. Ooh, almost a tongue twister there when it comes to taxes. Use separate bank accounts. I talked about that before. Document your mileage. You're not going to remember the next year. Trust me, I have tried before, and I had to go through all my gas logs to find out where the gas station was if I was there. Not fun. Don't do that. Trust me. Learn from my mistakes. Have these spreadsheets. If you're not good in Excel, they're very easy beginner courses, YouTube videos. I'm not talking about having macros in your Excel. I'm talking about just rows and you sum the total. Very simple. I can help you do it if you want. I can share my Excel documents with you. I use Intuit Mint. I'm not trying to push that product, but it's just one that's worked for me. I'm not getting paid to advertise for them. It's just one that's worked for me. Mint, I put all my bank accounts through there. They kind of do the dirty work for you. You can organize through there. You can actually export an Excel document of your expenses. So that's really helpful for me. It's just what I found useful, right? Keep your receipts. Keep your receipts. Oh my goodness. That organization with your receipts is so important. So what I usually do is I buy those like at the Dollar General. You can get a binder and it actually has tabs and you can separate your receipts and tabs. You don't want to go through separating your receipts at the end of the year. That can be disastrous. So I usually put my binder, my tabs are auto, travel, cleaning and maintenance, landscaping, that sort of thing, insurance, professional fees, and repairs, like anyone that entered your house to do any repairs. I have a lot of that. I have a great maintenance guy that does all that for me. Thankfully, I used to do it myself, and it's just not worth it sometimes, especially when you own multiple properties. So all those things I like to just keep separated, both in my Excel document as well as in that just binder of keeping your receipts. Don't just throw them in a box and deal with them later. It's going to be a mess. I have done that 1 to 2 years in a row, and I have decided that it's not for me. So having those really inexpensive binders, again, that's a write-off, right? Office expense. And putting those tabs and just throwing the receipt right into there, it's so much easier than having to figure it out at the end of the year. So highly recommend doing that, right? Okay, so those are my biggest tips. I also want to talk about something that I just learned about, which is the 14-day tax rule. And shout out to Augusta, Georgia. They're the ones that helped with this because of the Masters tournament. Go figure, right? We talked about that in the first podcast, and we're going back to it, right? This is actually an exemption. So this means that only if you rented your house for less than 14 days, so 14 days or less, it can hit that 14-day mark. It's you actually don't have to put it as a short-term rental or as a rental expense or anything like that. So that's that 14-day rule exemption. It's also known as the Augusta Masters rule. That's literally how it's known. So it's a new rule out there. If you're not really looking to do this for the long term and you just want to rent your house out for like the Masters or for an event in your area, you can do that. And it's actually exempts you from having to do your taxes for that. Last thing, you can depreciate your property. I don't know a lot about depreciation. I know there's some formulas that can be used. Talk to your CPA, talk to your tax professional. If you're buying or improving your rental property, depreciate that property. So those are my main tips, tricks, advice, things I've learned over the years. Like I said, I'm not a professional. I've just paid taxes, and this is what I have found as useful. Just as a property owner, it's just really important to learn through the years. I've made mistakes. I've tried figuring out my taxes in January. It takes days on end, and I'm stressed out and I'm frustrated. It's the last thing I want to do, right? Drink a lot of coffee or Red Bull and get it done. But really, we're getting into, as a reminder, our deductions: furniture, cleaning, maintenance, marketing, home office, commissions, professional mortgage, insurance payments, mortgage interest and insurance payments, travel to and from rentals, bank fees, and any other expenses associated. Get that CPA, get that professional, right? Organization is key. Have those binders, separate everything. It's so important. Keep those receipts. Never know. You might be audited, you might not, but it's better to have it than to not have it, right? Keep everything organized, spreadsheets, banks separate, right? 14-day tax rule, Augusta Masters. There you go. Augusta Masters rule. And depreciate your property, or have your CPA do it, really. Again, thank you so much. I'm hopefully going to be posting this on YouTube, so I will be posting what my new YouTube channel is. I had some people ask me if I was going to be posting videos on YouTube. Don't know why people want to see my face. I've got a face for radio, right? That's why we're on the podcast. Just kidding. All right, so check out my new stickers. DM me if you would like me to mail you a sticker and a personal note. I want to thank you all for checking out the Coast Host. I look forward to partying with you as a host on our next episode, so tune in for our weekly episodes that I'll be posting. Follow on Instagram, Facebook. Don't have a Twitter. Never really got into that, right? Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts. Having trouble with Google Podcasts. I hear that's a normal thing. If anyone can help me, let me know. And Spotify. If you can't find me, The Coast Host, look anywhere, Google it, whatever you need to do, and you can find me. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and good luck on tax day!